Today we're going to get to the 4 aspects of dealing with challenging behavior, and most of these people don't think about. They see a behavior that's very challenging for them that they don't, want to see continue to happen, and they want to just fix that one behavior, and they don't really think about everything that goes in to helping a child overcome that behavior and give them the skills that they need to do that. So I'm going to help you with those 4 little steps. So the first one is all about modeling. And honestly, if you go back, you have to know your why. You have to know that, like, this is the behavior that I want. This is the behavior that I'm really looking for and that we value in our family. And this is why, all right? Because you can't hold a boundary consistently and with respect if you don't know why you're doing it. So that's really, really important. But you're going to model it. You have to model the behaviors that you want to see in your kids. And it even goes further beyond that to verbalizing. A lot of times we are internally processing so much in our life, so much of our frustration, our happiness is all done inside of us. It's all done in our head. We don't verbalize any of that. But then our kids don't ever hear how to do that. They don't ever hear the thought process that goes behind the scenes in order to accomplish that goal. So for example, I'm really frustrated by this whole campground situation. And I could just get really frustrated, and I could either get really mad or I could calm myself down. But my kid doesn't understand what's happening. He just sees the effects of everything going on in my head. But if I verbalize it like, oh man, this campground situation, this transmission situation is really challenging. And it's making mommy so frustrated. Oh, but I know that I can take some deep breaths and I can think and I can problem solve and figure out a way to make this work for us, right? And then go through those steps. He has recently watched True in the Rainbow Kingdom again. And I just was like, wow, that is like collaborative problem solving at its best. So if you need help learning how to verbalize this, go watch True in the Rainbow Kingdom, because they do this every single episode. They get super excited and stressed out, and then they go to the wishing tree and they sit and have a think and they work through the problem. So I feel like that's a really great example if you need a little kid version of doing that. So modeling and verbalizing. Next, there is prevention. So it's realizing what the habits are, what the triggers are in a certain situation. So if your kid is constantly wanting to hit after, another kid takes his toy, well, then you can see the taking of the toy is a trigger, and the only skill that your child has at this point is hitting. No, hitting is not okay. But if we only focus on the hitting and not on the trigger, we're not going to get anywhere, right? We have to be able to help our child first through prevention, setting them up for success. I once had a client whose 8-year-old, she allowed him to charge his tablet in his room, but then he would wake up and then play his tablet, even though she said not to. But she wasn't setting him up for success, especially because he had ADHD with impulse control issues. So having his tablet in his room when he woke up was an automatic go-to. It's not even a thought. It just happens. So you have to do some prevention, some setting the environment up for success. With a child that hits after his toy is taken, that might require a little bit more effort. You might have to be there and be able to maybe stop it with your hand. Or if you see that another child is starting to grab, you might be able to stop it there. Or maybe we're okay, we're not ready to play with others right now. We're going to go play over here. There's so many different variations of solving this problem that there's too much to get into here, but there's ways, right? And so you have to think to yourself, all right, what is going on? What is the problem that we keep seeing happen? What could be some of the reasons why this is happening? Let's backtrack. Let's look at this from a different angle, figure out what the patterns are, what the triggers could be, and then how can we help set them up for success? If you have a child that is constantly not wanting to get into their car seat and then throwing a fit about it, Okay, what could be that trigger? How could we change the narrative on this? How could we make this more fun? How could we give them a little bit more control in this situation, right? What could be the cause that this is such a big frustration for them? So it's really starting to reflect and look back. And without this piece, and this is something I do with my clients, we sit back and we reflect and we look at all the different angles to try to figure out, especially for our kids who aren't quite ready to verbalize this with you yet, we figure out what could be the issue. And then we help work from there. And that leads to the next step, which is empathizing and validating. We don't immediately go to teaching and discipline because in the moment when this is happening, our kids are not ready for it. It would be like you throwing your phone and then somebody trying to teach you a lesson in like how to be calm and deal with whatever is going on. Like, you're not ready for it. You are still angry and you're now feeling angry at yourself and the situation because you just broke your phone, but you really don't want somebody to yell at you for that. And it's just not the right time. You feel bad enough as it is. You're not in your right mind. Logic and reasoning are not happening yet. And so discipline or teaching is not at that time. Okay, that's the next step. That's for after. This step, the empathizing and the validating, is saying like, hey, I get you. I see you. I hear you. I feel you. You are not a bad person. That may not be the right decision for right now. That may not be a great idea. But I hear you. And I completely understand why you would want to hit your brother for taking your toy. That is extremely frustrating to have somebody constantly trying to take your stuff. I get it. They need that connection. And then, furthering that, right? Furthering the empathy and the validation is that connection component. How can you reconnect with them? We just did a whole 30-day challenge, which I'm going to do again because it was so amazing, that really helped people understand like how to reconnect with their kids. So beyond the empathy and validating is reconnecting and rebuilding that relationship so your children feel safe, because people only learn when they feel safe. So doing that is your third step. And then finally is your discipline. Finally is your teaching. How can you teach the skills? It's not about making them feel bad for what they did. That comes naturally to us, and we need to kind of remember to like think ahead. Like, okay, they know this was wrong. Their impulses got the better of them, but you can tell that they know that this was wrong. They may not admit it because they're really angry at the moment, but they know. So how instead can we give them the skills to move forward? How can we teach them, okay, well, if hitting is not the answer, then what is? What can we do next time? What can we say? What words can we use? And then there's many different ways to teach this. Play is a big one. Role playing, playing with dolls, puppets, all those kinds of things are great ways to teach this. But again, it comes full circle back to modeling. So then you use these same techniques that you're teaching your kids with them, right? Because they are going to do what they see. They are going to do what they hear. Eventually. It's not like you teach it once and it's happening all the time. This is a cycle. It is a cycle of modeling, prevention, and setting them up for success. Then empathizing, validating, and connecting with them when something does happen. And then disciplining them, which goes right back into your modeling.